Good morning, everyone. Welcome to First Church of Religious Science here in New York City. Welcome to everyone who's signing in right now. Welcome to all of you who have been here for the meditation that started at 10:45. Whether you're here in person or with us live on Zoom or watching on Facebook or YouTube later in the day or the week, we're glad you're a part of our gathering. Your presence is a gift, and we are really glad that you're able to be a part of us. This is a teaching, religious science, rooted in love, spiritual truth, and personal transformation. If you're new to our community, we meet 3 times a week. Wednesdays at 7, James, our practitioner, soon to be a minister, facilitates our creative living series. Thursdays, I facilitate the Louise gathering, 7 o'clock, same Zoom links. And then here we are every Sunday morning for our lesson of the week. Everything that we do here, everything we offer is given to you on a love offering basis. If you feel moved to support our work, you're welcome to. There's options in the chat room. So let's talk about why we are really here this morning. To live in a world that teaches us, I'll say it another way. We live in a world that teaches us, since we're children, to be cautious. We're taught to be afraid of all kinds of things when we're kids. We're taught in a way to hold back a little bit, to keep our hearts guarded, to keep our wallets zipped, to keep our talents shelved until someone asks us for them. But what if that's the very beginning of the blocking of our blessings? What if, instead of being so careful, what if circulation was the secret? Today's message is called The Gift That Keeps on Giving, and why circulation is a key to receiving. And this talk is rooted in a truth that we don't talk about enough, especially not in spiritual circles where we try not to be offensive. We don't really bring up the subject of money very much. This is a line that's been taught to me from Raymond Charles Barker, Dr. Bill Tolliver, Rev Wade, all of them. The universe, they all said, responds to givers. In fact, as I remember, all the years ago, they used to say, life loves a giver. We've been trained since we're kids in scarcity, that there's not enough of this, there's not enough of that, and to hold back. So if we want to be honest, most of us weren't raised to be free givers. We were raised to be very cautious and careful. We were to make sure that we had enough. Some of our families plain out told us there's not enough. So if we ever gave, we were taught to make sure that we had something left over, enough for ourselves, just in case. And yet, somewhere inside of us, many of us knew that that wasn't the truth, or it wasn't the whole truth, or there had to be more to that. There's something inside, because there's something inside of you that wants to express life. It wants to give. It wants to share. It wants to offer love. It wants to give it its attention. And it wants to care, and it wants to share joy. Not because you're supposed to, because intuitively, it feels good to do that. I've had a lot of people who've taught me that lesson. Oftentimes when I'm thinking of this particular subject, I'm thinking of Pat A. in Florida. I always watched her saying hello and thank you to people, and she acknowledged people. That's the way she moved through the world. Wherever she went, the grocery store, post office, parking lot, she would smile and she would say hello to just about anybody. She always said hello. She never did it for attention. She just believed that being present and being kind was a form of giving. And I've had a lot of time to think about her, and it certainly was. She'd say to me, people need more eye contact. They need a little bit of warmth, even if it's just for 2 seconds. You never know what it might do for someone. So I've never forgotten that, or will never forget her. Some people might give you their smile, others their presence. Maybe they set their cell phone down for a few moments and they look into your eyes and they really listen. Some give you their energy, their time, their laughter, or their creativity. And yes, some give you money too, but that's just one form of giving. The bigger question always is this. If we're living in the question is, are you living in circulation or are you living in constriction? It's a very simple question. Or like many weeks I'll say, are you coming from connection? Are you coming from the realization I'm one with the one? Are you coming from a place of connection, or are you in constriction? Same thing with this. Are you living knowing you're supplied and supported? Are you living in circulation, or are you living with constriction? So let's make that even a little clearer. When we say circulation, we don't mean money moving through a bank. We mean, are you allowing yourself to stay in motion? Are you allowing yourself to give love and to let love come back? Are you allowing yourself to release what's no longer needed in your life and trust that something better is always on its way to you? Are you letting that energy move through your life instead of keeping everything stuck or nailed down? So how do we begin? It starts small. Maybe you start to say yes to something generous, something that doesn't make sense even, but it might feel right to you in your heart. Maybe you hold an elevator door open when you're in a rush. I noticed a lady the other day went out of her way to hold a door open for me when it was raining. I thought, well, maybe she thinks I'm an old person. I don't know why, but I appreciated it. Maybe you forgive somebody who you've been avoiding. Maybe you pay that bill with a blessing instead of a grumble. So those are big changes. They're small, but they're big changes for a person. We don't all have to be saints here. We just have to have a little bit of willingness. Because if we're holding back in all these areas, it has consequences. When we live a life where everything is closed off, where we're too tight with our time, too tight with our money, too tight with our attention, we don't have any time to praise anything, we're too tight with our kindness, it does something to our nervous system. It doesn't help our body because we feel constricted, we can feel contracted, we feel guarded. We start to believe in this whole idea of separation that we talk of often. See, we live in a teaching that says we live, move, and we have our being in divine substance. But when we're in all these other states where we're protecting ourselves and we're fearful, then we're on guard, we're contracted. So we're really believing in separation. But when we let go of that, when we give, just a little even, it softens us. It opens us up back so we can experience the flow of life. So you don't need to be wealthy to be generous. You don't need to be perfect to be present. You just have to be willing to live with a little bit more openness. Dr. Bill used to say something that I will never forget. He says, if you curse what you pay for, how can you expect it to nourish you? And he had a story from one of his lessons, I can't remember which one, where he was in a supermarket, which was a funny thing if you knew him. He would never ordinarily be in one. And he was talking about how much everything was costing. And he realized, and he was listening to other people do the same thing. He said, if you resent your food, you're talking about how awful it is or how much it costs and all the rest, this reminds me of Louise. Hey, he would say, well, how can it bless your body? If you're complaining about everything, how can it bless your body? Likewise, if you resent your bills, how can your home feel peaceful? It reminds me of Louise Hay, and she would say, I love the world the way it is. There's nothing I need to change. So this is a cue for us. We don't want to resent our food. We don't want to resent anything. We want to bless it. We want to have gratitude and appreciation for it. We don't want to resent our bills. We want to be peaceful in our own skin, in our homes. So if we resent giving our time, then how can your life feel spacious? The way we give shapes the way we receive. So I don't give anything with conditions anymore. I haven't in many, many, many years. If I'm inclined to give, I give, and I trust people do what they're going to do, and that's fine with me. The way we give shapes how we receive. And I want to say this gently but clearly. Many of us have been trained to believe that keeping is how we will survive. We are, in fact, if I were in a therapeutic group, they would say this person's in survival. So we've been trained to believe that by hanging on, by hanging on to everything tightly, that's the way we will survive. But the spiritual path tells us something otherwise. In fact, tells us the opposite. Keeping is not how you thrive. Giving is. Giving is how you will thrive. Giving doesn't mean emptying your wallets or your checking accounts. It means circulating what wants to move through you. So the real question becomes, where am I withholding? What am I holding back? And if I am holding back, what's it really costing me? And just as important, where can I start giving again? Not out of obligation, but out of joy. First place I can go to usually is the closets and my garage. And, when I had a garage, just create order and put things into circulation. But the question's a bigger question than that for all of us. Where am I withholding? And what is it costing me? What am I withholding? What is it costing me? So where can I start giving again? Is it to a friend? Is it to myself? Life loves a giver. Where can I start giving again? Not out of obligation, but out of joy. So that's the turning point. That's where we start to unlearn these fearful places. And that's where circulation begins. Circulation in all of our metaphysical classes, you would learn if you were to take them, is a spiritual law. We've talked about how most of us were raised to hold back. We have all these beliefs about there's not enough. We've been taught to be cautious, to save for a rainy day. We've been taught to be cautious emotionally, energetically, financially. But let's talk about the truth. Life isn't fixed. It isn't static. Life is not meant to be hoarded or hidden. Life is action. Life is movement. Life is the flow of energy. Life is circulation itself. And this isn't just a nice idea. It's a spiritual law. Ernest Holmes wrote, life is a mirror and it's going to reflect back to the thinker what he or she is thinking into it. And he also said something else, something even deeper. He said, the universe exists in a constant state of giving. So it's up to us to place ourselves in this flow, in alignment with it. Again, the universe exists in a constant state of giving, and it's up to us to place ourselves in alignment with this, with the flow of life. So sit with that for a moment, bring that into your consciousness, and realize that the universe is always giving, it's always flowing, and it responds to the patterns that you're living with, living from. If you're coming from a place of fear, it reflects fear. If you're coming from a place of exuberant generosity, it'll reflect that everywhere in your life. If you live from contraction or constriction, it mirrors that also. So let's talk a little bit more about the law of circulation. You've heard it before, just in different ways, different language. Give, and it shall be given to you. Or, as you sow, so shall you reap. And another, very familiar, what you send out returns, multiplied. This isn't superstition. It's spiritual physics. You send out a vibration through your word, through your energy, through your attitude, or your action, and the universe, like an echo, brings it right back to you. But here's a twist. Circulation doesn't begin when you have enough. Circulation doesn't begin when you have enough to give. Circulation begins the moment you act like you already do. That's called faith. It's not pretending. It's not faking it until you make it. It's saying, I completely trust life. I trust life more than I trust fear. Yes, it acts on that. If you really believe you're supplied and supported truly, it shows up. So let's be honest. It isn't always easy. I know people are going through a lot. I mean, everybody goes through a lot, right? It's not always easy. So giving when you feel stretched can feel a little bit risky, or sharing when you feel unheard or unseen can feel scary. Showing up when you feel exhausted can feel like it's too much. But here's where Dr. Holmes comes in. He taught us again and again, we are surrounded by a power that responds to us and knows only to say yes. Again, this is where Dr. Holmes said something really amazing. We are surrounded by a power that responds to us. It knows only to say yes. So with that, the question becomes, what are you giving it to say yes to? What are you giving to this power so it can say yes to you? If you're withholding your love, if you're withholding your energy, if you're withholding your forgiveness or your light, life can't override that. It has to mirror what you're holding. So if you say, I'm not enough, if you say that long enough and you don't feel really good about yourself, and remember Louise would say the bottom line for everyone is they don't feel good about themselves. If you say I'm not enough long enough, life is going to say, okay, not enough it is. But when you say, even through fear, I trust, I'm open, I give what I've got, then the law kicks in. Then something starts to move. So let's bring this around. Let's have a real world example. Imagine someone walking into a gym and saying, I'll lift the weights once I have the muscles. You look at them a little bit like sideways, right? Because that isn't the way it works. You don't wait for the muscles to show up. You show up, and then the muscles come. You go to the gym, you do what you need to do, and the muscles will demonstrate, right? Same thing with giving. Same thing with loving. Same thing with healing. Same thing with money. You don't wait until you feel abundant. You don't wait until you feel abundant to circulate. You circulate, and that's what awakens your abundance. Circulation is going to be the action that activates the receiving. Again, start giving, start loving. Same with healing. Plenty to use, plenty to share. I'll say this again regarding lifting the weights. Once I lift the weights, I have muscles. We don't wait for the muscles to show up. We show up. Then the muscles come. It's the same with giving. We start giving a little bit, whatever we can. Extending ourselves, a little bit of love, whatever we can. Kind words, healing, whatever you can. You don't wait until you feel abundant to do it. You don't wait till you feel abundant to circulate. You circulate, and that's what awakens your abundance. Circulation, again, is the action that activates the receiving. Dr. Bill was one of the best, and he used to say something I'll never forget. He says, you don't get it first so you can give it. You give it first so you can get it. I'll say it one more time. You don't get it first so you can give it. You give it first so you can get it. See, that's how the law works. And here's the beautiful part. The universe is not a vending machine. It's a living, loving intelligence. It responds to the spirit behind the act, not just the act itself. So let's pause here for a moment and talk about something we say often here. We talk about the word alignment because people hear the word and sometimes wonder, what does that really mean? Alignment, we want to align with spirit. Alignment isn't about perfection. It's not about having your whole life figured out. Alignment means that you're willing or you're moving in that same direction as your values, the direction of spirit. It means your actions are beginning to match your intention. Your giving matches your desire to grow, and your outer life begins to reflect the inner truth that you're ready for more. When you're in alignment, there's more harmony between what you say you want and how you're willing to show up for it in life. It doesn't mean you're fearless. It means you're willing. So when you give your time with resentment, that's not real circulation. When you give your money with guilt, that's not spiritual flow. When you give your kindness but secretly expect a return from someone or something, that's not generosity. It's negotiation. But when you give freely, when you're coming from that place, when you're in alignment, when you're giving freely from your soul because you love to give and you want to give, that's when everything good starts to happen. That's when something shifts. That's when the law starts moving in your favor. That's when the windows open. That's when the unexpected blessings find you. So let's not limit. Any of this to time or money. Some of us are withholding love because we've been hurt. And some of us are withholding forgiveness because there's been a lot of pain. And some of us are withholding having an honest conversation or words, creativity, or even withholding kindness because we're afraid of rejection or we're afraid maybe of feeling foolish. But here's what we want to remember. Every single place we withhold becomes a place where the river of life gets blocked. When you hold on to a grudge, you're not punishing anyone, I promise you. When you hold on to a grudge, you're blocking your own peace. When you say, I'll open up when they change, you hand your power away. When you shut down and say, I'm done giving to people, you're also shutting down your own ability to receive. So this isn't about being a doormat. It's about learning to be a channel. Dr. Holmes wrote, there is a law of good, and it's a law of liberty. It's a law of giving and receiving, of doing and being. This law wants to flow through you. It wants to move. It wants to circulate. It wants to express. So today, ask yourself, where am I holding back? Where am I waiting to feel safe before I move? Where is life inviting me to step up or to circulate, to stretch, to share, to grow? Where is life inviting me to trust again? Because you're not meant to be a dam. You're meant to be a river. You're not meant to be a vault. You are meant to be a channel. And the moment you step into circulation, even in the smallest ways, life is going to rush in to meet you. So let's bring this down to earth a little bit. We've been talking about circulation. We've been talking about spiritual law, alignment, abundance. But sometimes it's the smallest acts that teach the biggest truths. So I want to ask you something very simple. When was the last time you gave without holding back? Not money necessarily, not anything even official. When's the last time you just gave with joy? Total stranger or good friend. When was the last time you just gave with presence and with heart? Maybe it was a smile you offered someone in the elevator. Maybe it was staying on the phone an extra 10 minutes because you knew someone really needed to talk. And you might have been exhausted, but you stayed on the phone. You listened. Maybe it was biting your tongue instead of arguing. Maybe it was just choosing peace. All of that is giving, by the way. Giving isn't always a dramatic thing. It isn't always about writing a big check or showing up at the food pantry. Sometimes the deepest giving is totally invisible. I'm going to tell you about a woman in our community. She came to me one day and she said, I want to contribute something. I don't have anything much to contribute right now. I really don't. I can't do volunteer shifts. She was working a lot. But she said, every time I sign on to the call, I put my full attention to everything you say, everything everyone says, and I make comments and I offer words of encouragement. I smile, I react. I let people know that they are not alone. And I said, well, that's really pretty huge. You're giving all your energy, all your love to the people in the community. You're sharing your presence. And that moves this whole spiritual thing we're doing forward. So we sometimes forget our attention is a form of love. Our encouragement is a form of wealth. Our presence is a form of power. Some of the greatest givers in this world don't have wealth, but they have a wealth of love, and you've met them. They're the ones who remember your birthday without checking Facebook. I had a couple of them come in here last week. They remember your birthday. They send handwritten notes, words of encouragement, just because. They bring you something to eat or soup or something when you're sick. Or maybe they watch your kids when you're feeling overwhelmed, or they call you just at the right time. They speak encouragement when you've forgotten your way or forgotten who you are. They may never preach a sermon. They may never teach a class, but they're certainly channels of this circulation. They are the wealth of this world. So here's a kicker. They don't do it to get anything back. They do it because it's who they have become. So the question for everyone today is, what does real giving look like for you? It might be giving forgiveness for some, even when the apology never came to you. It might be giving time, even when your calendar seems so full. It might be giving a blessing, even to someone who hurt you. It might be giving yourself a break, even when your own inner critic says you haven't earned it. Every time you choose to give without exception, every time you choose to give without strings, without guilt, without bitterness, you break the old pattern. You free yourself. You align with the truth of your being. Because you were never meant to stay stuck. You're not here to hoard your energy, your love, your light, your money. You're here to circulate it. And as you do, life moves. Things open up. Unexpected blessings appear. New relationships form. Ideas come to you. Ideas spark. Solutions rise within you out of nowhere. Giving puts you back into the flow. Giving is how you remember who you really are. So let's close this particular part with a reminder from Ernest Holmes. We exist, Ernest said, in a field of infinite possibility. And it is through giving, loving, and participating that we release the power that makes all things new. So let us take that in. Each of you are a releaser of power. Each of you are a circulator of light. And nothing you've been given in love is ever, ever lost. Nothing you've given has ever been lost. We create blockages. We can let them go. So if circulation is the key, why do we close the flow? Why do we find ourselves exhausted, guarded, or unwilling to give? The answer oftentimes is we've been hurt, disappointed. We felt we've been burned, forgotten. And somewhere along the way, we decided, I'm not doing that again. And so the flow tightens, not because you're selfish, but because you've been protecting something that once felt vulnerable. So let's name a few of these blockages with the idea that we can let them go. Maybe you'll recognize yourself in one or two of them. Maybe you've been a person who's given too much. You gave too much to someone or people who didn't return or acknowledge you. Others' resentments definitely block us. So you're still holding a grudge against someone who didn't thank you or didn't notice your effort. Maybe you think you have to earn your way back into worthiness before you're allowed to give or receive again. You're holding on to shame. If any of these types of things sound familiar, you're not alone. Everyone gets blocked. Even spiritual teachers, even practitioners, even you, even me. But here's the truth. Blockages are not flaws. They're always going to be an invitation. They're signals alerting you to the places inside that need healing, need attention, need softness, need grace. And they're not permanent. They're not a verdict on your character. They're just old armor that no longer fits. So let's all take a breath and silently say, I may have blocked the flow here and there, but I'm ready to open it. I'm ready to open again. There's no guilt, there's no shame, there's just truth. And now ask yourself quietly, where have I been withholding love? Make a note of it. Where have I been carrying hurt instead of healing? Where am I afraid to give? Where am I afraid to give again? Just witness it. Because the moment you see it clearly, you stop being trapped by it. The moment you can name it, you can start to release it. Ernest Holmes said, nothing moves but mind, and we are that mind in action. This means you get to change the flow, not by forcing it, but by allowing it, by having the willingness, not by perfection, but by having the intention. So if your flow has been blocked by bitterness, let's start with a kind whisper of forgiveness. If it's been blocked by fear, start with one tiny step of trust. If it's been blocked by exhaustion, start giving yourself a little bit more love, stillness, and some compassion. You don't need to leap, just need to be open. Just open it just a crack. And here's a sacred truth. When you unblock one channel, every channel starts to shift. If you forgive, suddenly your body starts to feel lighter. If you let go of control, suddenly money flows. If you start blessing your bills instead of cursing them, your home starts to feel peaceful again. If you allow yourself to be loved again, life gets brighter without anything changing on the outside. That's how this teaching works. This isn't just spirituality, this is freedom. So you get to decide, will I keep living from the wound, or will I let circulation return? The answer doesn't have to be dramatic. It just has to be yours. So let's close this morning knowing that we are supplied and supported, that we're inlets and outlets of spiritual activity, that everything we need is already known in the mind of God. Let's remember that life loves the giver, and let's be intentional about it. And so it is. So thank you all for being here. I really appreciate every one of you, all your messages and all you do. We get all the messages, and I read them, and I'm very grateful. We're going to turn the cameras over now. I'd love to hear anybody who's new say, hi, I'm Joe, and I'm from Canada or Florida or wherever you are. And all the regulars who share all you do, it's wonderful to hear you and have you with us. So thank you, one and all. And so it is.